Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and Beyond, an MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan, and welcoming back to the show again is Ron here. We just did Deadpool, but
How's
who
it?
knew that
Yeah,
that would just be the start of the week? Because a lot has dropped. How are you today, Ron?
I'm doing. I wish I could say I was doing great, but I just got home from Madam Web, so we'll put that aside for now, though, because otherwise, this is a great reason that we're getting together here today. On Wednesday, when we recorded our Deadpool episode, it's funny because we said to each other off camera, we were like, "All right, good, we got 2 episodes done. Like, nothing to worry about the rest of the week." And then in short order, it's Fantastic Four X-Men trailer. It's like, all right, we have to get something in here. So I am jazzed up. I am probably more fired up to talk about this stuff than I've been about any podcast we've done in a while. So good to be here, I guess, for all that.
Yeah, and yesterday I was thinking like, oh, it would have been great to do an emergency pod for Fantastic Four, but it's Valentine's Day. I was spending that with the wife, and then good thing we waited because then I would have been like, another emergency pod. We got to, and it would just get worse and worse. So hopefully nothing drops Friday.
Dude, they're saying they might. There's rumors going around that there's one more big announcement coming tomorrow. So
Really,
we'll see. Yeah. Unless Alex from Cosmic Circus is just kind of blowing smoke, which he's not really usually been one to, not
I just
really been known to.
I just wonder what it could be. Like, what would be another big announcement?
Um, big announcement in the sense of like who knows? Maybe it'll be the announcement of like Spider-Man freshman year or whatever the hell they're calling it now, or
Oh,
like
okay. Well, if it's
something
something
like
like that, we'll wait.
something like that. Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt it'll be something that will overshadow the last 2 days. Nor do I
Yeah.
think they would want to drop something that would overshadow the last 2 days. So I don't expect it to be anything too crazy, but who knows?
All right. So let's start with Fantastic Four.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with that.
Oh,
This was.
I gotta switch my hat then. Hold on.
Do
No.
you have one? I was gonna say, do you have one? I got the shirt on to cover this one. All right. So
Perfect. We got all our bases covered.
I do have an X-Men animated series shirt too. I gotta find um, for when we recap the show. But uh, the first thing I had saw yesterday was this,
Mm-hmm.
and like the date change, and I wasn't like
Oh,
reading the
before you even saw the
before I
art
saw
in
the
the name.
cast.
Oh wow.
So we were going down to my wife and I had an appointment for the baby, and they dropped this like while I was driving there, I guess. So I'm like catching up in the waiting room, just like, oh, let's see what's on Twitter. And then I saw this first and saw the July date. And then I saw, of course, Superman fans freaking out. And then I saw this and I was like, oh, that's cool. They got Pedro Pascal drawn at it. And then did not pay much attention to the other faces. And then I'm like, wait, this is the real cast? And then I had to go and like
That's
read
from
the
the
cast.
Marvel. Yeah, that's from the Marvel page. That's not from like Boss Logic.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Um, but yeah, so we have our cast. We have a new retro logo, which I love,
So
by the
good.
way. This
So
logo
good.
is giving me life. It really reminds me of WandaVision, and when you see the fact that you have the same director, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's really, I don't know, making sense. When you look at what the old logo was, it's nothing compared to what we have now. So I really like this. I can't wait to get like a shirt with this logo.
Yes, it's so much better than the one that we had gotten, especially given that we kind of like halfway saw in action what it would look like with John Krasinski and Multiverse of Madness, and like his suit had that logo on it and everything, and it just I don't know, it didn't work for me. I don't know if it like the whole baby blue and or not baby blue, navy blue and black, like maybe if it's just a little too like dull for me or whatever. But when the second I saw this art and I saw the sky blue and the white, I was like, yep, they know what they're doing. They're doing it right this time, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And
So
to your point,
do you think
the
this
biggest
is
thing,
the do you think this is the outfits then, the costumes?
I don't think that those specifically the ones that they're wearing right now are, but I think that that's absolutely the color scheme they're going to go with. I would be very surprised if they went for that more like dark,
Dark.
again, like the navy, the black, the more gritty kind of modern Fantastic Four look, knowing now that this movie is going to be set in the 60s, given all of the countless little Easter eggs we have here from this piece of art between the Time magazine and just the sort of kind of classic vintage astronaut photo back there of Ben Grimm, and like Herbie's face is kind of like a little like 60s tape deck
Yeah,
almost.
yeah.
So they're very clearly trying to tell you that that's the direct, if the logo enough wasn't any indication. And there isn't anybody better to helm this kind of project than Matt Shackman, to your point. Everything he did with WandaVision is great. The guy very clearly understands how to do a period piece. Honestly, I'm pretty I don't know the exact timeline of like when they signed John Watts for this project and then when WandaVision came out, and like, but I'm guessing that once Kevin Feige saw WandaVision, and like in his head, he's probably known for a long time what he wanted to do with the Fantastic Four once he finally got them. So once he saw that vision on screen and how like successful Shackman was at doing it, I
Yeah, there
think it
were a
was.
few visions on screen in WandaVision.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Man, goddamn. Nobody knows how to derail me with a damn pun like Jordan. You're a dad and you're not even a dad yet. So
I know
you're
it
already.
upsets you and Chris every time I pull one of these, but I have fun. I have fun with
Yeah, the dad jokes have come early, so you're already ahead of the game. But yeah, there's nobody better to do this than Shackman. I think once Feige saw WandaVision and the way he handled not only those early episodes, but the way that he so perfectly captured the essence and the vibe of every single era that they did in that show. He basically showed that there isn't a time frame, at least from what 1950 and on, that he can't capture. And I'd bet a pretty good bet that he could do anything he wants from before that time period and make it sort of immersive in that way too. So I won't ramble too much longer here, but Shackman is the perfect choice for this, like head and shoulders by far.
Yeah, so the cast is Pedro Pascal, which we did a whole episode about. So we're not going to spend too much time talking Pedro Pascal. Vanessa Kirby, uh, Eben Moss-Bachrach.
Mm-hmm.
Is that? I guess I nailed it. I don't know. And
Yeah,
then
you did.
Joseph Quinn.
That's it. Yeah. Yep.
And it's releasing July 25th, 2025, which is 2 weeks after Superman Legacy. So I will be in the theater quite a lot in July.
Yes, you will.
It's funny though; these were the rumor names since like September, except for Pedro.
Yeah.
And it's weird that it took this long to confirm them after Pedro. But I guess they did want to save it for something like this little post here.
I'm also kind of curious because like Shackman put something up on his Instagram last week with
Yeah, they
Pedro
made
in it,
him remove
like
it. Yeah.
basically confirming, and then instantly took it down. I don't know if that was something like them kind of doing a funny little like soft launch, or if it was just, oh boy, he messed up. At this point, the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows it. Let's just drop the thing, you know?
Well, I don't know. I think the artwork would have probably taken a bit, so I don't know if they could have.
You think? You don't think they could have commissioned somebody to bang that thing out in a week?
I don't know. I don't know because it's
A
just
week?
like, I mean, I guess they could. I don't know how fast people can go on this stuff, but
Hell, they might even have just, I hate to say it, but they might even have just AI'd it.
yeah, maybe. I don't think they did, but
Disney has already shown they're not opposed to it. You know, we saw, and granted, Secret Invasion kind of that was like the vibe of it, so I'll give them a pass on that a little more. But that
well,
whole
what I want
was
to say
AI.
is like AI can be used for good.
Oh
So
yes, I'm not.
the
Yes,
people that were doing the intro still had total control over that intro. You know, they had to
mm-hmm.
come out and say like, "Hey, nobody lost their jobs due to this.
Yeah,
We had to enter this stuff in, and then we had to take what we liked and we had to shape stuff. Like they still had to do stuff. It wasn't like they went to Dolly and said, "Give me an intro for Secret Invasion," and then it like buffered.
yeah, and then
Um,
fired 5 people. No, and to be
yeah,
clear, I'm very much in your camp with that as well. I think AI can be a great tool for creators who already are employed to get ideas and
Yeah,
also kind of lay a groundwork for the type of thing you want to do. It's great for concept art, and it's just good for random Joe Schmo nerds like us who want to think up fun stuff but don't really have all the time, or maybe don't have the drawing
skill.
slash artistic ability, to be able to do that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So AI is okay with me as long as it's not.
replacing
And I get,
people.
yeah, it's very simple. As long as a single cent, sorry, dropped my light a little bit there. As long as a single cent of a project that would have been going to a actual creator is is either taken away or distributed elsewhere or stuff like that. As long as that's not happening, then it's more just something that people can feel good about posting about on the internet and feel like they did their part for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because that's just what pisses me off the most is because I saw people say like the Valentine's Day Deadpool one with the heart was made out of AI, where it's like half Wolverine, half each hand is a Wolverine and Deadpool one, and I'm like, how can you even tell? They're like, well, we ran it through this thing that says it's AI, and it's like somebody ran like 5 pictures through them and said 3 of them were AI when they weren't. So it's like you don't know. You
The whole
don't
thing
know.
is not an exact science. The creation
Right.
of AI and the detection of AI, it's a very fast evolving thing, but still an evolving thing.
Yeah. So okay, let's dive into the cast then. I think that this is, I think we both saw what was it, Soups, who was like, "We're never going to get a better cast than 2005," and I retweeted that and said, "We just did," with like the sunglass emoji, because I look, I love those movies, '05 and '07, Fantastic Four, Rise of Silver Surfer, and all that. I love those movies.
Just watched them last night to get it, and I loved them way more on the second watch.
Yeah, but it's like,
Well, not second watch, but however, whatever watch this is at this point. First one in a long time.
yeah, first one in a long time. But I'm like, hey, the cast was fine. The cast was great for that time. Um, Vanessa Kirby is going to be a huge upgrade over Jessica Alba. No offense to Jessica Alba, just
Yeah.
Vanessa Kirby will, right? Like I know her from Mission Impossible. She's great. My wife's seen her in The Crown. She said she's great. I mean, she's got the chops. I hear great things about Eben Moss-Bachrach from The Bear. I haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
it, but he looks familiar. I feel like I've seen him in something.
He was in Punisher.
Okay, I haven't seen Punisher though.
Oh, well then I can't help you.
It got to a certain point on the Netflix ones where I was like, no. Um, but the but like the thing that they drew looks like classic Thing. I hope this is the design that they're using for Thing.
Mm-hmm. The
Um,
big kind of furrowed brow that kind of comes up, like it feels a lot more comic-y than the sort of just like general, like kind of
yeah,
big rock man.
Chickless, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Joseph
Love
Quinn,
Chickless too, by the way. He's the man.
Joseph Quinn, I loved him as Eddie in Stranger Things. I don't know why everybody is so against this one. Is it just because he's not Tom Holland's age? I mean, like, because I feel like a lot of people are like, they have to be the same age because they are in the comics. And I'm like, sometimes you just got to let that go.
I think it's because people don't know what a good actor is, and I know you're like, what the hell? What are you talking about? I am genuinely convinced, and I tweeted about this today, that people see him like play Eddie Munson, and they think that that's just who Joseph Quinn is, and he's gonna walk into Fantastic Four being like, "What's up, Reed, dude?" You know, and I'm like, no way, dude. The role that he plays as Eddie Munson is nothing like what he is in real life. Watch the guy in any interview for 5 seconds, you wouldn't even know they're the same person. Like, he is a tremendous actor and he is going to kill this. I cannot for the life of me think of a logical reason that people are upset about this. Oh, and I saw another one. Our old friend Grace Randolph was complaining that he isn't good looking enough. Like, first of all, if all right, we won't go down that. We won't go down the political road today. But just in general, like, what are you talking about? Like, he's a great looking cat. He's like
Better than me. Yeah, I mean, like,
yeah, well, better than me too. That's not really saying much in my case, but like I just I just I don't get it outside of what I just mentioned that people are just so like one thought kind of like don't understand context or anything like that to where they think that this is just Eddie Munson coming to play Johnny Storm or it's just a classic internet thing of nobody can be happy about anything ever.
yeah, I mean, and look, if you are one of those that are like, well, Spider-Man and Human Torch have to be the same age, they're 2 years apart.
Yeah,
They're
we're
2 years
splitting
apart,
hairs.
the actors. So
Yeah.
it's fine that you can act like they're the same age. It's just like, I don't know, man. Uh, I think he'll be great too because I think he's a great actor from Stranger Things. That doesn't mean he's going to act like he was in Stranger Things. It's, you can see the potential in somebody's role, even if it's a different role. But people get in fandom specifically gets into this box where they say you can never be somebody that you're not. And they did it with Michael Keaton. They've done it with Heath Ledger. And look, we all know that's not my favorite Joker, but he did a good job, right? Ben Affleck, they did it to Ben Affleck. They've done it to Pattinson. You know what I said when
Dude,
they
go down
hired
the list.
Pattinson?
Yeah, what about Andy Dwyer is going to play Peter
Yeah,
Quill? Yeah, let's see how that's like you can go down the list of castings that Sarah what is it Sarah Haley Finn
yeah.
has done that people are like I don't know about this and she ends up nailing it. Like at this point, I think she deserves enough respect to where if she thinks somebody's going to be a good in a role, we should at least give it a damn chance.
This is what I said with the Millie Alcock things too, because when people, the same thing with like David Cornsweet when we're talking about Superman and stuff. The people making the decisions have seen the auditions. You haven't,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you haven't, and these are not big enough stars to be like, we're just assembling no like this all-star cast
Yeah.
that can't act. They are picking people for the role. People say the same thing about Pedro Pascal, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. He looks like Reed if you just put the white on the side, the gray on the side of his thing. Reed has a beard, facial hair in the comics sometimes.
Yep.
And I don't care if his facial hair is not accurate. I just need him to act like Reed Richards. And from everything I've seen from Pedro Pascal, is he's got a huge range of what he can do.
Oh yeah.
So
And
I have utmost faith that this is going to be absolutely knocked out of the park.
yeah. No, it's funny because Pedro and Quinn are kind of going through that same sort of like identity thing right now. People are like, I can't see you as Reed, or I can't see you as Johnny Storm. Um, as you know, I was not the hottest on Pedro when it got announced. There is proof of it on this show of me saying it. But I also said I'm gonna give it a chance because I love Pedro and he's a tremendous actor. He's my favorite actor, period, right now. And I don't understand why why it always has to be so much vitriol and negative and not at least give it a chance. If you go in and you think that he sucks in the role and he's awful and he should never be Reed Richards again, if you've seen the movie and that's your opinion, fine. At the very least, I can't take it away from you. But to just shit all over it before they even start filming the damn thing, before you've even seen what he looks like in the suit, it's just like it's just crazy, man. But we'll get off of the negative because
Well,
all in
what
all,
I'll say with that too, just with that real quick, of the Pedro Pascal thing is it's wild when I see people say, and they had Krasinski right there. And I'm like, look, I gave Krasinski the chance because I saw the vision. But when it came time for him to act it, he didn't do a great job. I was hyped for him to show up. He showed up in Multiverse of Madness. And my whole first watch, I'm like, I don't think he's nailing this. And then I
nope.
watched it a second time and I was like, no, he didn't. And
He
I,
was Jim
I,
Halpert in a Reed Richards suit.
I mentioned it on the podcast. I think you can go back. I may have said then at the time that the second time eased me into it, or maybe the second time was more critical. I can't remember. But he also doesn't want it. he mentioned about how he was fine with just doing that one-off thing. He's directing, he's writing, he's doing Quiet Place, he's doing Imaginary Friend. Like he's doing other stuff. He doesn't want to be tied down to this.
He's got the inevitable Office reboot that is definitely coming from NBC in the next like 2 years
He's
because
not going to be
they
in it
can.
though. They're doing a full new cast apparently.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Yeah.
That's going to be pretty awful, but just
We'll see.
we won't get too far into those weeds. But yeah, I he didn't. He was objectively bad. He had like two speaking lines, and neither of them were believable at all. He was again just Jim Halpert, and I try to like. I know that because I'm such a big fan of The Office, maybe that's just more my own like personal predisposition. But even still, it didn't really feel like he believed the lines he was delivering.
And then people say, well, give him a chance. He only had 1 day to film that and all that. I'm like, no, he had a shot. He doesn't want to do it. We move on. Get
And
somebody
it's
that
like,
wants to be here.
okay, so give him a chance, but don't give Pedro a chance. Okay, cool.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, cool.
It's give whoever I want the chance, all right?
Yeah,
That's
exactly,
what their argument
exactly.
is.
That's the internet for you, baby. But yeah, dude, everything about this cast is awesome. Like you said, Vanessa Kirby, spot on. Everything from
Yeah.
look to range, like she's got it all, man. She is going to be great. Um, and Eben Ross-Bacharach, again, he's one that I'm not super duper familiar with, as not being a watcher of The Bear, but again, it all just goes back to the fact that I have faith, a lot of faith, to be honest with you, in of all the things that I have maybe kind of lost a little faith in Marvel with over the last like we'll say year and a half, 2 years, the casting department ain't one of them. Because even the shows and stuff that I don't really like or aren't a huge fan of, it's never because I think the character is bad or miscast or anything like that. They're batting 1,000 as far as I'm concerned.
I know where I know him from now.
Ah, okay.
He's an Andor.
You know me. I need my zip zap lightsaber, so I did not watch Andor.
You didn't watch Andor?
No, I did not.
Oh my god, Andor is incredible.
I
Yeah,
know. I
he's an
just
Andor.
it's just one of those things, man, after so long. And like for any of our Star Wars fans who listen to the Pod Awakens, hear me say that, they're probably like, wow, you should never be allowed to appear on that podcast again. But I'm very particular with the type of Star Wars that I like. Since I've been a kid, it's gotta be that sort of high fantasy esque, large scale, like kind of like what we love so many of these Marvel movies for. It's very tough for me to get into a grounded story about a universe that is anything but grounded.
Did you watch any of it or no?
Bits and pieces, and I saw the ending, the ending of like the prison break and all that. So I've seen, or I don't even know if that's the ending, but I
No,
saw
it's
that
not.
part.
No.
Okay, so yeah, I've seen some bits and pieces of it, and who knows, maybe one day when I'm just sitting around bored or sick or whatever, I'll go in and watch it. But
I recommend it. I would
again,
say it's like you like Game of Thrones. I would probably put it more like that. Even though it's not
okay,
as what I'm saying, like focusing on more of the people and the political aspirations of a fantasy land. You know how like
mhm, yep.
Game of Thrones is in a fantasy land, but you'll also have the Hand of the King doing some backstabbing political stuff. I would say it's more like that, which I'm sure not a lot of people would think of when they think of it.
Mhm,
But
for sure.
I really enjoyed it. I'm not one of those that think everything has to be like it after I watched it, though.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's not Andor. What the hell? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else about Fantastic Four? Okay, I like Herbie, so I guessing
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
gonna
I was
see
gonna
him.
say, let's touch on Herbie for a second because I saw one hilarious idea for a fan cast today. I wouldn't like it, but it is funny to think about. Tom Kenny, SpongeBob. I
I
don't
saw
know
Weird
why
Al Yankovic. I saw people
that,
saying get Weird Al for it. That'd be cool.
but who I think would actually be a knockout choice for it is somebody who we thought was going to be Johnny Storm not too long ago, Jack Quaid, who we know from The
Oh,
Boys and
yeah.
all of his other,
My
go down
Adventures
the
with
list.
Superman. He voices
Yes.
Superman in that. Yeah.
Hmm. Go down the list. of all the cool things Jack Quaid has done. He's got that kind of like kind of dorky, whimsy, like sort of thing that I think would fit perfectly with Herbie. So he's my cast for that. My hope is that somebody heard, oh, Jack Quaid has been cast in Fantastic Four, and then they kind of ran with it and like that, and then they had to debunk it, just thinking it was Johnny Storm, but it was actually this the whole time. That would be pretty sick.
I'm gonna think it's gonna be maybe not a huge name. I could see somebody like D. Bradley Baker or somebody that just can do any voice, like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
do this voice. But
They're
you're
like
right. Sometimes,
we spent too much money on Pedro and the
yeah,
others. We
yeah.
got to cut corners.
D. Bradley Baker. He's gonna do all of his clone voices as the droid.
Yeah.
Uh, no, I really like their apartment and everything. I guess before we transition, we think it's in the 60s. Do you want to take any bets on if it's in a different universe or if it's in our MCU?
I am going to say a different universe, just because I feel like with all the stuff that we saw in the past with like with Howard and with Steve, and like we've spent a pretty decent amount of time in that era. And I know ultimately at the end of the day they didn't even have the rights to Fantastic Four at the time, so how the hell would they have known to throw a mention in there by Howard Stark or something, you know what I mean? But I feel like at the same time it would be a little bit of a stretch to get us to believe that through all the shit that's happened in the MCU so far, that they were just not around, especially when they just did that with the Eternals. It would feel a little like, all right, come on. So
But
my
was that
bet
a
is
pun unintended there? It'd be a stretch.
it was unintended, but good catch, good catch. So
That's
yeah,
that's the kind of thing they would have done too. It would have been like uh Howard Stark being like, "We got a guy that stretches," and you'd be like, "That's a weird line to throw in there."
yeah, yeah. We got this other kid. He's a real firecracker.
Yeah, real hothead.
And then the poor wife, she just stands there in the corner the whole time. It's like she's invisible. She never says a word.
Then we got the Thing. It's like, what can you
I
do
don't
with
even
that?
know where to. I don't even know how
Yeah.
to get one for that one.
So
But
I know we
yeah,
talked about it in the text thread. I kind of want to just bring it up on here too. It's like I do worry if it is another universe. Um, just the general audience perception of that, or how that's going to be marketed, or what they're going to do. Is it like something that they reveal mid movie that you're like, oh shit, like I didn't see that coming, and that the audience can grasp? Or is it like marketed as like it's part of the MCU, but they're also in another universe before they get there, and you're like, I'm lost. Like a general audience member would be like, why do I care about them if they're not actually in the MCU that I care about? And that's right now we're having problems with them getting to care about some of these characters. It's a worry point for me. So I do hope they just kind of lean in on this is the Fantastic Four. It's 60s, it's retro, and then maybe if it's a different universe, that could be a post-credit scene or a reveal or something.
what I could see them doing is going sort of the Captain America First Avenger route, where like they show us a brief scene in the beginning without actually showing the team, but something that indicates and shows whether it's with like a lower third, like how they do in a lot of the Avengers movies and stuff, where they like show new locations and things like that. You know what I'm talking about? Like Guardians did that a lot too.
Yeah.
So if they were to do something like that, and then do whatever you're going to do in that scene, and then cut to the beginning of the actual movie and say Earth blank 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 50 years prior, one of those sort of things, and then you kind of like weave it back in that way.
What if
So
it's
that
instead, right now, here's my idea, okay? We have Papa Kelsey Grammer, Beast, sit Monica on his lap and say, let me tell you about these heroes from 50 years ago.
that's a really good it's not a crazy idea
Just
for them to do
imagining like
the universe.
Kelsey Grammer's in this random like it just opens up and Beast is just sitting there and you're like, oh man, I thought I'm watching Fantastic Four. What the hell
He's
is
got like
this?
he's like sitting by a fire. He's got like the little monocles and the smoker's
Yeah,
jacket.
he's got the
Like,
book.
opens the book. Let me tell you a tale.
Oh, it sounds like you're our friend's daughter from another world. So let me tell you about these heroes from 50 years ago.
It's so I wouldn't even complain at this point. As long as we can get all of them in the same movie, do it however the hell you guys want. Throw Deadpool and Wolverine in there too.
All right. So let's transition with Beast over to X-Men 97. All right. So earlier today they dropped this poster first, I believe, and then dropped the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
The poster here for the audio listeners, a bunch of cassette tapes, VHS tapes, lined up with different X-Men in the top of each cassette, and then across the spine saying Marvel Animation X-Men 97. And of course, those are dropping on March 20th. Just really great work that they're doing with that. I also just wanted to point out, I saw some people say, why is it called 97 when the show was made in 92? The last season ended in 97. So
Mm-hmm.
if this is picking up from there, I think this makes perfect sense. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any thoughts on the poster work or anything?
I love it. I want that so bad, even though I don't own a VHS player anymore, as most people don't. Just to like have that on display, I would love it. I know they're never gonna like sell anything like that or anything, but man, it was awesome, and it just kind of leads right into, I guess, the opening of the trailer as well, where we see that sort of old school TV and the '90s setup. It's just they're so very clearly leaning into that, and they so very clearly should. Uh, this, as much as this is going to be an introduction for a younger crowd into the X-Men, at the same time, this show's for us. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad to say when a project was made for the kids, like, like a Miss Marvel was, or, Blue Beetle, go down the list. This one's for us, God damn it. And I'm taking it for us. Like, it's,
Yeah.
they leaned into it and they understood the assignment so well. They really did.
This premieres when I'm on vacation, so if they do weekly drops, I can still podcast. By the way, I'm taking my setup down. I always take my mic
Cool.
and stuff down in case of I need to record.
Nice.
But we'll be down in Disney and stuff, so I'm hoping that we have a nice maybe merchandise of this stuff out and about for me. That'd be great.
That would be dope.
Like one time I was down there during Loki season 1, and they had like Miss Minutes pins and all that kind of stuff. It was really cool.
Damn, dude, you might be in luck.
Yeah, they have a little Marvel shop in downtown Disney Springs now, whatever they call it. Yeah, so that'd be great. But like my last vacation, I did Obi-Wan was releasing, and Miss Marvel was releasing at the same time, and I took my wife's laptop, and I took my microphone, and I did my soccer podcast there. I did Obi-Wan podcast there, and I did Miss Marvel podcast there.
Your wife's like,
but I was in Salt Lake. There wasn't a lot to do in Salt Lake. All right,
Fair.
I'll say that much.
Fair.
But yeah, so if I need to sneak away and record something about this, I can.
Cool.
Yeah, but this is great. The trailer was giving me, look, I watched the show when I was a kid. Have I seen every episode? Probably not, because I was beholden to the schedule of, and I didn't have the tape set. There was no DVR.
Yeah.
So you have to catch them on reruns or whatever. But I watched it a lot. And I'm planning to, now that I have a date, I know I have enough time. I'm going to try to burn through these seasons to make sure I've seen them all.
You got a date? I don't know if your wife would like that very much.
Yeah.
I got you this time.
So we'll be so I'll be preparing for March 20th to have this wrapped up. So we'll be dropping on a Wednesday. I'm guessing it'll be at night, not the midnight releases or 3 a.m. releases. I assume they'll do.
They've been going to the 9 o'clock.
The 9.
Yeah.
So it might be Tuesday at 9 or maybe Wednesday at 9, but that'll be cool. But I mean, as a kid that grew up watching this, some of these moments were like things that you can only dream of. This moment when Gambit is charging up the adamantium claws of Wolverine as he's riding like piggyback on him.
It's funny.
Just really like hyped me up, man.
I was trying to think of like a funny name for it, like kind of like how they had the fastball special with him and Colossus. I was like, the po' boy piggyback? No, that wouldn't work. And I was just like kind of trying to like brainstorm all these names to combine like something with Gambit into this.
Just call it Cajun style.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, no, dude, it was among many other things in this trailer. It was awesome. It was actually kind of funny to me too, because the way the trailer starts, it very heavily like leads people to believe that Charles is dead and like he died in the finale, but that was not the case. They made it seem like that, but ultimately it ends up being a thing where he ends up like Alondra's like, "Oh, I can save you, but you have to come to space with me," and like yada yada. We're up there. So he is still alive, very much alive, unless they kill him off screen, which is something I highly doubt they would do. Um, so in my head, I'm like, okay, why are they doing that? Why are they trying to mislead people? A, is it going to be somebody else actually dies, or is that just going to be more of a thing of like their cover to sort of
I think it's a cover.
hide his
Yeah.
whereabouts? Yeah. So it could be that too. But I kind of like that right off the rip. It's like, ooh, okay, that's they're presenting that in a way that's not how it actually was. Um, Another thing, of course, we have to mention is Scott and Jean, we would assume Scott and Jean having a child. We saw pregnant Jean in that trailer at some point. I think you got a picture you'll pop up
I don't have the
in
hands
post
one, but
for us.
here's one I do have. The basketball photo, she's clearly pregnant.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, oh yeah, she's even holding the baby. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
She's the ref, too. She was being responsible.
yeah, yeah. um, so there's a lot of different ways they can go with that. Is that going to be Rachel Summers from the Days of Future Past timeline? Is that going to be Cable, who we know is a Summers descendant, Nathan Summers?
Well, let's talk about that. I think it is gonna be Cable
Okay.
because the the showrunner came out and said that Cable and Cyclops are gonna have a huge arc in this show,
Hmm.
and Cable will be in the show visiting from the future timeline. So I assume it's gonna be one of those like he's gonna be there at the same time that his like mom's pregnant with him or something. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that'd be very cool.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of seems that that's the route they're going. So that was just another kind of little Easter egg thing. We have, of course, the newspaper that is just kind of
Yes.
Easter eggs galore here. We've got the is Spider-Man a mutant, which was going to be one of my fun little Marvel what ifs that we ever if we ever did
Hmm.
a show about that was going to be one of mine. We
Also,
get
they
the
left out the hyphen.
I know. I saw a lot of people mentioning that on Twitter. I wonder if there's any significance to it. If it's just that, like, just kind of meant to be. I don't know. Like, it seems like a
Do
weird
you think
oversight.
like do you think Peter is like looking at that like that front page and he's like, actually, there should be a hyphen there for Spider-Man, and they're like, no, no.
I could very much see that because they did do a crossover with this and Spider-Man the
Yes, in the
animated series.
Spider-Man show.
Yeah. So it wouldn't shock me for a second if they did that again. It seems like they're really pulling out all the stops for this show. So it just also why the hell are you going to mention him if he's not going to show up? And they mentioned the Hellfire Gala there as well. So who knows? Maybe we get that whole episode where it's like we get the Peter, we get Eddie Brock, we get like just all this kind of cool cameo stuff that we've come to love from the comic version of the Hellfire Gala. If we get that in the comic too, dude, just sign me the hell or in the show too. Sign me the hell up.
What I'll say though is that maybe lower expectations if you're listening to this. I think it is just a fun nod
Batman's gonna show up.
because they do know Spider-Man exists in this universe from the crossover. So I think this might just be a little nod. But there was also rumors that they're bringing back other Marvel shows. I mean, maybe if this does well, like Spider-Man comes back and it's like Spider-Man 94 or 98, whatever they want to call it.
Well,
And
we're already getting a new animated Spider-Man show as well. So maybe they just kind of like
yeah,
tie that into it somehow. I don't really know. Like I don't know how. Obviously, this is a direct continuation of the first animated series, but I'm not sure how super strict they are going to be in terms of like to where I don't know if let me think how to put it. So it would be great, kind of pre-promotion slash cross promotion, to have the Spider-Man of their upcoming cartoon appear in this show. But because the other,
I would think they wouldn't. Yeah, I would think they wouldn't. I think because that Spider-Man's going to be in a different universe,
Mhm,
supposedly. Um, I I think these people probably had full control on what they wanted to do with the X-Men here and
mhm,
stuff. So maybe you can see what Christopher Barnes Spider-Man in this. I would say most likely this is probably the extent of the nod, or you even have Wolverine be like, "What about that guy that climbs walls?" And you're like, "All right, yeah," like one of those lines.
yeah,
But you know, but yeah, I don't think they'll try to force any sort of connectivity. Anybody looking for this to be one thing I hate the most is for people wanting this to be the Beast from the Marvels, or
mhm,
wanting the these X-Men, this Wolverine to be the one in Deadpool. I'm like, no, just let this show stand on its own. Why try to risk ruining goodwill you have from the 90s show by then like having these be the X-Men that enter the MCU? Just have it, if you really like this lineup, use this lineup as the X-Men of the MCU. That's all you got to do. And just let this be a fun animated show that I can watch from season 1 to see, this is technically season 6, I guess.
mhm.
And just let me have a good time with it without worrying about now I got to flip over and watch Deadpool 3, which is not what's going to tie into an animated show aimed at kids, It's just
No.
doesn't make any sense.
So while I don't really think this will be a like this won't be that universe in that sense. I mean, it would make no sense for it to be. We've seen Monica. If this was that universe, would Monica have not been animated like this? And wouldn't that whole post credit scene have just been an animated scene?
If you look at how Into the Spider-Verse does it, yes, right? Because we have Donald Glover as Miles's uncle for the MCU version, and he showed up in Across the Spider-Verse.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, there should be a clear difference between animated and the non-animated stuff.
So what I think, um, what I could, or at least what I could see, is it being sort of a mirror of that universe, not the exact same one to where it's like, oh shit, now we're wondering who's going to show up in season 2 of X-Men 97. You know what I mean? But just more of a different universe, but one that almost identically kind of mirrors that one that we saw in the Marvels.
Right, right. And I think like I don't even think Monica landed in the Fox verse. I think it's just they liked the way Kelsey Grammer
Mm-hmm.
portrayed him, and then they made him look more comic booky, and just they went with it. Like that is, I think that's all you need sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Just have
Also,
fun with it.
also like what was binary just not there the whole time, and all these other Kelsey Grammer, yeah, uh
Yeah, he's the big star of them all.
yeah.
He's only in Last Stand.
But like, what was she, where was she during all of these movies? So that's another, like, it seems like she's
Yeah, yeah,
pretty deep in the X-Men,
ingrained. Yeah.
yeah, in the X-Men weeds by the time we see her in that post credit scene. So no, I don't think for a second that it'll be the animated one or anything like that. I think at most it'll just be sort of a mirror image.
And I'm just saying this stuff to try to temper people's expectations. I think
Mhm.
sometimes because Marvel Studios took on making this stuff, people are trying to look for connections instead of just thinking, hey, this was a big deal. We have a streaming service. We want to make money. We have
Mhm.
the rights to the X-Men. Let's cash in. This is what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like they know what works. They know it's the perfect time to release this show because they had a streaming network that needed stuff, X-Men were back in their hands, and they knew people love the theme song and love the show. So they're like, that's why the theme song keeps coming back, is because Kevin Feige likes it. He knows it's popular with our generation. So they're going to stuff it in there,
Yeah. And we were
which I'm
robbed of
all
it.
for.
We were also robbed of it for well over a decade in Fox. They never gave it to us at all. So he's just like, you know what? You're gonna get
Ridiculous.
it. You're gonna get it all the time now. And I'm like,
I want that to be the main X-Men theme.
it
Like when
should be.
X-Men movie comes out, it should be the theme.
It will
The
be.
same way that like the Avengers theme is the Avengers theme.
Mhm.
Like it should
It
just be
will
the
be.
theme.
Spider-Man theme is the Spider-Man theme. Yeah. No, it will.
Yeah.
It will 1,000%. Like I would say, oh, we're gonna hear it so much we'll get sick of it, but I ain't never getting sick of it. So
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. I was listening to it today. I bought like somebody did a version of it on iTunes, and I was
Mhm.
like looping that today. I'm like, let's rock.
Hell yeah.
So other parts. Oh, I wanted to point out with this thing again with the claws. It makes me think of. Did you ever play Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2?
I did not know.
Oh my god, it was so good. They had these moves where you could like fusion moves,
Mm.
like almost where like if you had a team of like Cap and Iron Man, you would do the move that they do in Avengers where he like shoots the shield and then the
And it goes,
shield like disperses it and all that. And it just the fact of him like charging up the claws makes me think of like a move I would be able to do in Marvel Ultimate Alliance. So that was a great game.
nice. The only other
Um
only other one that I had
go
written
ahead.
down here was we see a lot of Magneto, or not a lot of Magneto, I should say. We are bookended with this trailer by Magneto.
He's
Um,
here too in the UN.
yes, and as we know, he is going to be very, very heavily featured in this show. The fact that we saw him in the early art with that M suit, that's his like I'm leading the X-Men suit from the comics. So
Yes, and the showrunner said he said like a year ago or something like he's going to be the leader of the X-Men.
mhm. So
And we kind of get that with this scene where he's like Charles left everything to me.
yeah, exactly. He says it at the end. So I would be very, very shocked if they have Magneto in a featured role like this and we don't get a whiff of Wanda and Pietro at some point.
True.
Like
True.
like they were both of them were in the original animated series. Like it just they've almost got to be in this show in my opinion.
Yeah. I have some other screenshots, just them in the jet um looking fly and all their
Oh, it's so great.
costumes.
That's
Um
another great Twitter header photo for somebody.
yes, this is great too. Just
Mhm.
like seeing all. So I don't know. It looks 2D, but I think there is a little bit of 3D over too. But it's not what if style. For anybody that
No,
was saying it's what if style, they were completely wrong.
not at
It
all.
looks like the original show.
It very much does. Like obviously there's some things that come with, having made a show in the 90s that are just going to be impossible to duplicate in 2024. But they did a
Like the
hell of
bad animation.
exactly
Sometimes it had
the
really
bad
poor
stuff.
animation.
Yeah, the bad
Yeah.
stuff. It's they took the old model and made it better while still keeping that central identity of what it was.
And then we got the great line from Cyclops
Oh,
saying the usual Xavier line. To me, my X-Men,
even
when you see
sounded
them
like
all.
Xavier when he said it too. Oh, it was
Yeah,
great.
yeah. This is a new voice actor for Cyclops because the last one had passed away. Um, so I guess let me just say this real quick. We have returning voice actors, which are Cal Dodd as Wolverine. I saw a lot of people say he doesn't sound like himself. I'm like, he's 30 years older, but it is the same guy. Uh, we have Allison Seeley Smith as Storm, George Buza as Beast, Adrian Hoff as Nightcrawler, and Chris Britton as Mr. Sinister,
Hmm.
who is supposed to be
Like the
the main villain.
overarching villain. Yep.
Ray Chase is now voicing Cyclops. Jennifer Hale is now voicing Jean Grey. AJ Locascio is playing Gambit. By the way, he voiced Marty McFly in the Back to the Future video game from what was it, 2015? There you go. The Uh,
Everyone was like,
Holly,
I know that name from somewhere. Oh yeah, the obscure Back to the Future video
that's how I knew it. I saw that and I was like, oh, Marty McFly is voicing him. Great. He does a great Michael J. Fox.
Nice.
But Holly Chow is voicing Jubilee, and J.P. Carliak is voicing Morph. Isaac Robinson Smith is voicing Bishop. Matthew Watterson is voicing Magneto. And Ross Marquand, who did the Red Skull in Endgame, is voicing Professor Charles Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have like Guy Augustini voicing Sunspot, Jill Birmingham voicing Forge, and Eric Bauza voicing the Sentinels. So there were some characters that have been recast, and that's like Jean Grey, Gambit, and Jubilee, and those actors are still alive. They're going to play different roles in the new series, but some of them they felt like, okay, either maybe their voices weren't as great now, or some people like Jubilee was not an Asian voice actress, so now they do have Asian voice actress, and the one that originally played Jubilee is now playing a different character, Abscissa.
Mm-hmm.
We have the original Jean Grey now voicing Dr. Valerie Cooper.
Yep.
Chris Potter, the original Gambit, is now playing Cable. Lawrence Bain, the original Cable, is now playing Carl Dental or Executioner. And Ron Rubin, who originally voiced Morph, is now playing Robert Edward Kelly, the President. So I'm glad they found places for some of these original actors if they weren't keeping them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's good that they still found a way to get them involved in a heavy way, even if they don't quite fit the vision of what they still want the show to be. Like, they're all still great voice actors in their own right, and they all definitely deserve a spot. Not to mention, they're all just like kind of so integral to the vibe of the show in their own way. Not to say that they couldn't find somebody else to do it, but that it'll just be another way that we can connect back to that show as the older crowd who's watching it.
Right. Yeah, this is the way they're like respectfully handle this, and I just feel like they've done a great job with that for this the whole time, really. So
yeah,
it seems like they've handled this with so much care.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it any better. So that's quite the week we just had.
Yeah.
As we kind of begin to tie a bow on things here, just like wow, like thank you Disney Marvel, and go fuck yourself Sony Marvel. I guess that's kind of my that's my motto for the week.
And Ron, you and Chris will talk Madam Web. It won't be long. Mm-hmm. We'll preface that. It's probably going to be like 20 minutes. They don't want to go too hard on this thing.
Yeah.
Because then it just becomes mean. But,
yeah,
they're going to get their points across. They're going to tell you about the movie. And it's probably going to be fun even if you hadn't watched the movie. So make sure you listen to it.
We're gonna try to make it like there's no way around the fact that it's going to be a negative review. We're going to try to make it at least a little funny and direct the vitriol more at Sony as a whole, and kind of just go into that aspect of it in the way that they've been criminally misusing Spider-Man characters for years now, as opposed to just, we're not going to go down the cast list and be like, oh, Dakota Johnson was horrible in this scene.
Right.
Sydney Sweeney was awful and all this stuff. Like, it's not going to be like that, but ultimately we do have to be honest at the end of the day, and it was a fucking awful movie. So it's what it is.
I can't wait to hear it. I'll listen to it when I'm not while I'm editing it. So I'll get all the dirty details with it then, I guess. But yeah. So that wraps us up here. We did not expect to be doing another episode this week, so there you go. So I know I said what's to come last episode, but I'll say it again. We got the Madam Web review coming up. We've got Ultimate Spider-Man 2 coming up next week. We've got our comic book couples draft, which is a mix of, it'll be on our DC and Marvel side, so that'll be great. We have a guest. Who do we have for that, Ron?
Ryan Airy from Screen Crush.
There you go.
Yes.
Screen Crush fans,
Tune
show
in.
up and show out. And so we'll be doing a comic book couples draft in honor of Valentine's Day this month. So that'll be fun. It might feature Reed
Never
and
know.
Sue, who we talked about. But yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. And then that's like the lineup for this show so far. And then over on the other shows, I'm dropping the episode tomorrow. So Friday, our What If Star Wars episode, where we came up with ideas for Star Wars What If episodes if they were going to do a show. That is with Tommy Bechtold from New Rockstars and all of the other work that he does. That's dropping Friday over on the Pod Awaken. So make sure you check that out. That should be a lot of fun. We had a great time recording that, and we each provided 2 what ifs that we kind of dove in on and came up with some really cool ideas. Over on Elseworlds, we don't really know right now what we're talking about next week. So
all right.
Yeah. That should get everybody pumped up.
I know. Talk about promo, dude. Holy crap. A PR.
We're working hard on something, all right, guys?
We're cooking it up. Let us cook.
We'll probably have one of the Smallville updates that we're doing, because I think Chris will probably be finished with season 2 by then. Mm-hmm. But what the main show will be about, I don't know yet. We'll get to it. It might just be either general news if anything big breaks, or we might be talking a comic or a movie or something. So keep an eye on that. And yeah, I think that's all of the plugs. So
think so.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like and subscribe to us here on YouTube. If you're watching us, make sure that you leave comments in the comment below. Over on our soccer podcast, Stateside Soccer Show, somebody called us 2 idiots the other day. So
that's how you know
if you want to say that, go ahead. You can comment that in the comments below. Give us your thoughts on the cast of Fantastic Four or this X-Men trailer, which already has like 2 million views on YouTube, by the way. Then you can follow us over on all of the show notes areas. This one does not have a consistent handle, so I don't have it off the top of my head. But Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those places. I think TikTok. I don't know. Look for us there. And yeah, have a great rest of your week. We will catch you next time when we talk comic book couples.